Hello. In a previous video, we started the installation process for a local development environment for your course in MSAI, which is 631, which deals with human-computer interaction, as you all know. So we finally have the installation completed. It did take quite a bit. There's sometimes it depends upon your system and what all you've done to it and how fast things are running at that moment. So basically, we're finishing out the installer, clicking next a few times, and it's this last one is asking us if we want to launch the navigator and also about the get started with the Anaconda website. So we'll go ahead and leave those checked and let it do its thing. The link is pretty useful whenever it comes up, and what we're doing right now is waiting on the Anaconda Navigator to come up. Anaconda Navigator is a tool that makes it relatively easy to do things that you could do other ways, but it does it in a simpler sort of way. So it starts off with it looks like it's encouraging you to take a look at Anaconda data catalogs as well as a few other things. So this is their cloud offering. So we'll go ahead and close that out. And it's saying that this environment is no longer available, primarily because I've deleted it and uninstalled it, so it shouldn't even be showing up. So we're now looking at the environments that we have. There should only be the base environment. It looks like orange install is something I had created some time ago. I was attempting to clean all that up. Orange is a data science tool that is very useful. Interestingly, the first thing that it does is offer us a new version of Navigator, even though we just installed it. So we'll go ahead and say sure. While it's doing that, there's other sort of validation steps that you'll want to take. You'll want to take a look at your applications and look for the Anaconda folder, uh, and it should say new beside it. Inside of it, there are several things that are of interest to you. In particular, there's an Anaconda prompt, um, which is a command shell with various things set correctly. Some of these look like need to be replaced because they no longer exist. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get that done. And it's just doing a .2 update, so not a big deal. Back into the applications. Uh, if you take a look inside of that Anaconda folder, there's the one that you're going to want to use is this right here, most likely the Anaconda prompt new. Clicking that will open up a command prompt that has all of your Anaconda stuff set correctly. The base is the environment we're working in. Environments are, think of them essentially as a directory, if you will, of things that have been installed and configured for a particular workload. The default or the base environment is one that's default there whenever you first install stuff. You'll oftentimes want to create additional environments to make sure that you can have the right versions of software installed for a particular purpose. One of the things that you'll do is verify the version of Python, uh, which if you get it right, should be maybe it's 2 dash dash version, is Python 3.11.5. You can go into an interactive session by just typing Python. Not something we usually do often. So we can do like hello world, the, the typical thing, and then exit is as a function is the way to get out of it. So with that, we know that Python certainly was installed. Uh, Anaconda Navigator is still in the process of updating. I'll pause for 1 second, pause the recording so that we can wait for it to finish, and then I'll pick back up. So bear with me. Okay, it looks like we've finished our installation or update of the version. We can now launch it again. So this lets us take a look at the graphical aspect of Anaconda. So one thing to make sure, as I've mentioned before, is you can do all of the things you do through the UI at a command prompt. It's just that it's often simpler in the command prompt. and it doesn't require you remembering the names of commands and such as much. So what it's doing right now is loading up all the features, and you can extend additional things to Anaconda, including, like I had mentioned earlier, Orange as an option. So you can come in, take a look at the various sort of things that are already installed. And so there is a Anaconda toolbox, which is based upon, it looks like, Jupyter Lab. And giving this a second, I think that may already be installed. It should be. But scrolling through stuff that's available, you do have Spider, which is a framework that many find useful. It's a web-based interactive notebook variation, as are many of these things. And that's a common pattern you'll see in this domain, is a lot of work is done inside of a notebook interface. And we'll see that here in a moment. And as you can see, it looks like Jupyter Notebooks are already here. Jupyter Labs are here. And so we can just launch those. But before we do, I'm going to take a quick look at environments. So we can create a new environment down here at the bottom. It says create. Go ahead and give it a name, and maybe we want to do something like uh, AI, HCI, and you can pick what packages will be installed as well. So you can have both R and Python inside the same package, which is sometimes convenient. So we'll go ahead and create that. And that's creating an environment. We still have our base environment. We can have others. You can switch between them. And you can do that same thing using the Conda environment sort of commands. And so here you can see that your choices of Conda environment is either compare, clean, create, info, and so on. So you can basically do the same thing, Conda environment, create, and then it should say, hey, you want to give me a name. So you need to, anyway, we'll get back to that in a moment. So regardless, you can do the same thing through this. And that again is the benefit of it's kind of env create dash, I think, name. There we go. So that's doing the same basic similar stuff as to what we did something incorrect. It looks like it's wanting a YAML file that doesn't exist. So anyway, rather than doing that, I'm going to go ahead and pause this and wait for the new environment to get created, and we'll pick back up here in a moment. And sorry for the stop and starts, but we're there now. So you can see now we have three technically environments. The base environment was the one that was there by default whenever we selected or installed Anaconda to start. It is where you would typically start from. There are also other environments, such as the AI-HCI environment, which I created. A quick Google reminded me of the syntax for creating an environment at a command shell. And you use the syntax as you see here, and I'll make that bigger so you can see it. And it's basically conda create. You give it the name parameter of what you want the new environment to be called, and then you can specify certain things. And I believe I need to make that an equals equals at the point that you're creating it. No, it's just that. So sometimes you need a particular version of Python installed. As an example, if we were to run this command, and I'll go ahead and start it and then leave it be as we go. What this will do, once I get the syntax exactly right, is, and it must not like spaces, maybe. There we go. So what this will do is create a environment for us, just as that other environment we created, but it's going to be having Python 3.9 installed and active rather than some of the others. So it's what it's doing right now is telling us everything that it's going to do. whenever it does this actual installation or creation of this environment. These are the things that will be available to us, including Python 3.9.18, which is the point. Recall that we're on like 11 in our other environment. If you hit enter to proceed, it'll go through the process of actually doing what we did inside of the navigator, but doing so in a little prettier way. And you can see this is primarily about going out and getting files and downloading them to your local environment. So more importantly, I'll just put that in the background and open up another command prompt. Remember, it's down underneath of Anaconda and here, and you may even want to go ahead and pin that to your start if you're running Windows. Your experience will be slightly different if you're using some other language, but it's the same basic idea. So in my environment, I've got some notebooks over in a certain location. One of the things that you'll probably want to take a look at is Jupyter Labs. We'll go ahead and start that here. Uh, Jupyter Labs. Actually, I'll show you the other way of running it that's just as easy or just as appropriate. So inside of here, we've got our current environment is set to the base environment. I'll go ahead and switch that over to AI. Oh no, I'll leave it there because it may require us to install Jupyter. So leave it on the base environment. And then we'll use this UI. And I think it's Jupyter.lab maybe. Yeah, Jupyter Lab. So what Jupyter Lab is a you probably heard of Jupyter Notebooks. It's the next kind of generation of that thing. But the key reason that you care in this course is that you have the ability to handle, and it actually natively does handle integration with Get. So you'll probably want to take a look at this. Just as a quick sort of getting started, you can always open up existing notebooks. This is one that I wrote some time ago that basically goes out and uses a API down here to go and retrieve a information about your ISP. So you can see things like the company that actually is you're going through. In this case, it was Verizon Business at that moment when I ran it the last time. As a refresher or perhaps an introduction to those of you who are unfamiliar with the notebook paradigm, you have a series of cells inside of a notebook. A cell is typically one of two things. It's either code, which is what this is, and we'll go ahead and run this code. Uh, and what I'm doing is evaluating it by hitting the shift key and the enter. You can also click this little play button if you would like as well. There's usually multiple ways of doing the same stuff. I typically just use the shift enter. And so what this will do, I've defined a couple functions. In this case, get ISP info, and that's going to let me get information about my ISP. Also create a timestamp function that basically will be able to generate a timestamp in a nice way. So I can potentially add a new cell right here below it. And so since we don't call get timestamp, I'll go ahead and do that here. And enter, and that's what it returns is essentially a better representation of it, so that we can actually take that and um, put it into a log or something, or as a payload to a message being sent to something like an event hub, which is what we do later on through here. So anyway, the whole point of all this is just simply to explain the paradigm of a notebook, the fact that Jupyter Labs do allow you to, Jupyter Lab notebooks do allow you to integrate with DevOps sort of environments, so GitHub, places that store your code and repositories, and handle the checking in and out. There is this extension extension manager, and one of the extensions you'll probably be interested in is Get, and in this case we go ahead and install that. And this is the Jupyter Lab extension for using Get version control. When you click on installing it, you can basically do the similar thing down here. It's giving you the commands it's going to run. You could either use pip install uh, 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 Jupyter Lab -get or conda install. Either one of those are appropriate, and it's basically kind of doing that for us in the background. So that's Get and Jupyter Lab and Anaconda. That's most of what you need to get going for a local development environment using just the Anaconda navigational system. You can also see if you want to run it from here, you can also click launch at this point. Does the same basic thing as typing Jupyter Lab at the command prompt inside of a particular uh, environment. So uh, that's pretty much it. As always, if you have questions, let me know. As they say in YouTube world, like and subscribe. And as always, if you have questions, let me know. I'll be glad to help. Talk with you later. Stay safe.